Hello comrades, today I will continue the discussion about the patriotism. I already recorded one video from my car. In this video I talked what do I think about the American patriotism and American flag using by American communists. So the pretext for recorded that video was the discussion of three communists from USA. As you see, there is the screen from this discussion. In the left you have the comrade Jackson Hinkle. In the middle there is Caleb Maupin, the leader of the organization Center for the Political Innovation, and in the right there is the Haas, who have the YouTube channel Infrared. I watched this video, and also after I watched many videos of Caleb Maupin and the video of Infrared concerning the patriotism. So today I will continue this discussion, but from Polish perspective, and I would like to make a short presentation of Polish history. What was the question of patriotism in the Polish socialist movement? So, firstly, I would like to say that I am a member and founder of the Polish Communist Organization named Polish Workers' Party. The name of our party is the same name of the party which existed in the Second World War, in the time of the occupation. If you know a little the history of the Communist International and the Polish section of the Communist International, Communist Party of Poland, you maybe know that this party was dissolved by the Communist International because of a provocation. There were a lot of agents of the Polish police in this party, and because of that this party was destroyed in Soviet Union. Many Polish communists died there. They were killed by NKVD. Some of them it was good. Some of them this was the innocent people, but it is this different discussion, the history of the Communist Party of Poland. But we have to say that the history of this party, it was not successful history. That it was of course bigger party than our party today, but it was not a big party in the Polish reality. Of course it was the party persecuted by the Polish bourgeois government, but because of political isolation of this party, the leader of Soviet Union, Comrade Stalin, decided that for the Polish people we have to create new party without word communism, and it will be better. So spreading communist ideas without saying about the communism. It was the strategy of the Polish Workers' Party, and because our situation in Poland now is similar to the situation which existed in 1940s, so we also decided that we will spreading the communist ideas and fighting for the communist program using the name this party, Polish Workers' Party. This party not only are growing very very fast in the time of the Nazi occupation, but also it was the party which built socialism in Poland after the Second World War. So it was a successful party, and the historic Polish Workers' Party use this idea for fighting for the national liberation and class liberation. So I can say that all this discussion which taking place now in the American left about the patriotism, so the comrades which you see here, they can use the example of Polish Workers' Party, because it was a party which used patriotism, Polish flag, and also a lot of things that the Polish history, use also a little anti-German propaganda. So it was from the political point of view of today leftists like Antifa, they can accuse PPR that PPR was not a true internationalist party because this party used sometimes the anti-German propaganda or some stuff like this. But it was useful to organize the Polish people who suffer in the time of Second World War. You need to remember that in the time of war, all Poland was destroyed because of German Nazis, and also 6 million of Polish citizens were killed in the time of war. So it was a time when Polish people hate this German Nazis. And okay, now, so after this introduction, I will say a little why we can use this patriotic stuff to make political activity in Poland. I would like to say one thing very important, that for me this question is a tool which in the concrete circumstances we can use. So I am not somebody who is very patriotic. I am using patriotism like a tool to organize Polish workers, because now these ideas in Poland are very, very popular. So it is. I see difference between two type of people. One who truly believed in that patriotism is something important for the communists. I don't think like this. Maybe it is because that I started my political activity in the Trotsky's organization, and in this organization they have different opinion about these ideas. Now I am not against using the patriotism, but you have to remember that it is only a tool, because now most of the Polish workers are very, very patriotic. It is very popular in Poland. You can soonly on 11 November there will be very big demonstration. Every year there are very big demonstration in Warsaw and other cities. You have thousands of Poles going to the street with the Polish flag, white and red, and most of the people who demonstrate there, this is workers. So it is important that in the time when the workers are thinking about the patriotism, the communists also have to speak the same language, the same language, because if you go there and said I am against, I don't care about the patriotic ideas, they will not speak with you, and that's all. So our strategy of our party, it is strategy that we try to we try to use this a little bit patriotic propaganda, and now I will present the history of the Marxist ideas, how it was in the history. So firstly, the first argument why we can present these patriotic ideas, it is of course the most important question, that we are the Marxists, and as Marxists we have to read Karl Marx, what Karl Marx thinks about Poland, and you can find in the Marxist orgs all many articles of Marx and Engels about Poland. Marx and Engels on Poland, and it is a lot of articles like this you can find there, and why Marx and Engels they supported Polish independence. Maybe firstly, for the people who don't know the history of Poland, I need to say that the Polish state was created in the 10th century, but in the finish of the 18th century, this country was conquered by three empires: the Russian Empire, the Austrian Empire, and the Prussia, which became after German Empire. So there was the more than 100 years of the occupation. It is the time of partition of Poland, and it was a time late. Wait 1 minute. So there are my son, but I don't know you are listening him or not. So I lose my so yes, in the 19th century, which was the time of the Industrial Revolution, the expansion of the capitalist system, and also beginning of the working class struggle and the creation of the communism, the time of the activity of Marx, Engels, and other theoreticians. It was a time when the Poland didn't existed. Poland didn't existed, but the Polish nobles, Polish politicians were very active in fighting to the independence. So there were many uprisings in Poland. First big uprising, it was a uprising organized by the Tadeusz Kościuszko. So the comrades from USA, I think that they heard about the Tadeusz Kościuszko, because in this discussion about the American patriotism, they said a lot of word about the creation of the United States about the war of the independence in 18th century, and that they used the word the American Revolution, that this war, the American was the progressive side in this war, that the idea of creation of the United States was a good idea, egalitarian idea, stuff like this. And you have to one thing is very important which connect the Polish history and the American history. There were some Polish soldiers who fled Poland after the another uprising, but it is very long discussion. We had uprising Konfederacja Barska 20 years before this uprising of Kościuszko. The important is that in the time of this war, many Polish people, the most important is Tadeusz Kościuszko and Kazimierz Pułaski, they were the leaders, they were the generals of the American army. And so Kościuszko, he has a lot of I don't know, monuments in USA. And after this war, he came back to Poland. He came back to Poland and he said that I participated in one war for independence of the Americans against British, and now I will organize another war for independence. It was a time that Poland still existed, but was very, very little because of the there were 3 partitions of Poland. So the uprising of Kościuszko was in 1794. It was between second partition and third partition. It was also the time of the revolutionary struggle of Jacobins in France. So it was very important moment for the Europe that we have two big revolution. Of course, the biggest one is the French Revolution, but in Poland we have this uprising against the states who wanted to destroy the French Revolution. So it is first time when we see how the revolutionary forces and the Polish independent forces are collaborated. Maybe there were not strict collaboration. Of course, there were Poles who were in France and see what the Jacobins did in France. They, in the time of the uprising of Kościuszko, they hanged some of the bishops in Warsaw. Also, they wanted to arrest the king and kill the king, but they didn't do it. It was the very important discussion. They decided that in Poland never king was killed by Polish people, so we will not kill him. But it is a little different history. Okay, so we have this uprising of Kościuszko. After we have the Polish people. They fight hand to hand with the French Revolution, French Republic. France created the Polish legions, and these legions are fighting in all Europe to spreading the revolutionary ideas to fight. So one state after another was collapsed. The feudal state was collapsed, and there was the progressive reform. After they continued this in the time of the Napoleon, and Napoleon betrayed Polish people. They sent Polish people to Haiti to fight the Polish revolutionaries against the Haitian revolutionaries. Many of Poles stayed in Haiti. They decided that they will not fight for against other revolutionaries, and they stayed in Haiti. So there was a lot of uprising in Poland. The most important one. The 3 most important, it is uprising of Kościuszko, it is the November uprising in 1830, and also the January uprising in 1863. So we have 3 big uprising, but we have a lot of conspirational movement who wanted to all the time make another uprising. So in the time, and they wanted to make a uprising in 1846, after in the time of the Spring of Nation, 1848, and many other. There were a lot of Polish revolutionaries. It's long history. Very often the revolutionaries who fought in Poland, after the fall of the uprising, they go to emigration, and in the emigration they collaborated with the socialists from the world. It is the case of the emigration. Some people from emigration after November uprising. They collaborated with the utopian socialists. Some of them became socialists, for example Adam Mickiewicz, one of the most important Polish poet, etc. Also the Polish people, they participated in fight in the different revolution. We have the example of revolution 1845-48, the Spring of Nation, but it's a very long story. The most important is of course the history of the Polish soldiers who participated in the it is this photo which I searched. So this is two people who participated firstly in the January Uprising, and after they became the leader of the Commune de Paris in Paris. Why they became leader? Because the Commune de Paris, it was a workers state, semi-state, and the French state, the French army was a class state, and the officers of the French army came from the bourgeoisie, and in the time of the civil war in France, the officers supported the Versailles. They supported the bourgeois government. So in Paris there were a lot of workers, but not officers. So they take officers who have practice in fighting from Poland, who have practice in this uprising, and they became leaders. It is. So the most important is Jarosław Dąbrowski and Walery Wróblewski. Dąbrowski, he died in the time of the Commune de Paris. Walery Wróblewski, he after Commune de Paris, he started to collaborate with Karl Marx. He became the member of the Committee General of the First International, so he was active in the socialist movement. So, of course, I can continue this history because it is very good. This is history which I can be proud. Because today, Poland, most of the Polish people are reactionary fascists, and I have a lot of shame when I have to speak about the Polish people today. But in the 19th century, the Polish people in the emigration, it was a synonym of the revolutionary. And for Marx, he supported the most important thing for the how the relation between the international socialist movement and the Polish independent movement was a meeting solidarity with the January Uprising, and because of this meeting in London, they started to create the first international. So the first international was created. One of the reasons was this January Uprising in Poland. So when somebody asks me why you are communist and you use the patriotic propaganda, I can answer very simply that I am using this because I am a Marxist and because Marx supported Polish patriots. So it is first thing very important. Second thing important is we can continue this history of the international socialist movement, and especially the history of the Russian Revolution. And the guy which is very known, I hope for you, of course, I want to say a little about the Vladimir Lenin, and also this guy, I hope that you know him. This is the Felix Jerzynski. Felix Jerzynski, he was a Polish communist. He was a member. This photo I will use after. He was a member. I search good photo. No, not this. I try to find a good photo. But of course it's maybe I will delete some of this photo, it will be easier. Okay, so we have the history of the it is as you see, this is another photo of Wróblewski, but I am looking for another photo which is important. This was already, we don't need this. Don't worry, comrades, we have time. Okay, I will continue what I have to say, and I hope that I will find what I am searching for. No, it's not this. Maybe I don't have this photo. Okay, I hope that you know this guy. His name is Felix Jerzynski, and Felix Jerzynski was a member of the Polish organization Social Democracy, the Kingdom of Poland and Lithuania. It was a party which was a part of the Russian Social Democratic Party, and because of that, Felix Jerzynski, in the time of the October Revolution, he was one of the leaders of October Revolution. After revolution, he started to organize the Cheka, the police politic, to fight with the counter-revolution and the sabotage. and of course the Lenin, the strategy of Bolsheviks, the strategy of Lenin was the revolutionary alliance with the nations occupied by the Russian Empire, and in this revolutionary alliance they supported the right to the independence. So the Russian revolutionaries and Polish revolutionaries together fight against Tsarism. Polish, they fight for independence, and the Russians fight for the revolution, social revolution in Russia. As you see, the two most important, the most important leaders of the communist movement, Marx, Engels, Lenin, and also Stalin, who in the time of the October Revolution, he was a member. He was responsible for the question of the nations in Russia, and in the time of the Second World War he was a leader of the Soviet Union, and it was because of the Soviet Union our state was rebuilt, our nation was saved, we were not became slaves of Nazis, because Hitler planned to exterminate Jews, but after they wanted exterminate also the Slavs nation, like Polish nation. So as you see, all the revolutionary leaders of the communist movement, they supported the Polish patriotism movement and the fight for the independence. So yes, we have the example of this alliance in the 19th century. We have the example of the revolutionary alliance in the time of the Second World War. It is here we have two persons, of course, you know, the comrade Stalin. This is Bolesław Bierut, who he was a president of Socialist Poland. He died in 1956 after the Khrushchev referat. Of course, now we have the complicated history of this Polish socialist movement, that one part of the Polish socialist movement, they were in occupied Poland, so it was the case of Gomułka, and Bierut most of this time he was in the Soviet zone, but it is another history. Okay, so it is two reasons why we can use the patriotism and socialism together, and there is a third reason now, because most of these speeches which I said, well, it was history. Now I would like to say some words about the situation which is now in Poland. Why it is important to use this why we can use this patriotic propaganda. And it is Warsaw. Maybe you don't know, but you can trust me. This is Warsaw. This is a street where there is a building. This building here, which you can see, it is a building of the Polish Prime Minister. So it is the political center of Poland. in the political center of Poland. As you see in the lantern, you can find the Polish flag. So it is Poland. It's not a lie. And as you see, you can find the American tanks in Poland, American tanks in Warsaw. And it is a symbol of the occupation, of course, that in Poland since 2016 we are occupied by the Americans. Of course, these troops, American troops in Poland, they are not very numbered. We don't know how many people, how many soldiers Americans have in Poland. Maybe 5,000, maybe more. But it is not important. The important is that the politicians of Poland are totally dependent the American imperialism. The example, the best example was Prime Minister of Poland 2015, 2017, I think, Beata Szydło, who before she became a Polish Prime Minister, she learned in Washington. She was in study in Washington. So you see how it's worked, that you go to Washington, they make you propaganda, brainwashing, and after you became Polish Prime Minister, and it's her, she decided that in Poland there will be American bases, American tanks in Polish streets. So we are like a state. We are totally dependent the American imperialism. We have Polish troops in Poland. The American decided that we can't make taxes against Amazon. We can't make taxes against Facebook, against other stuff like this. And of course I can continue on all these things. What is bad that we are dependent of the American imperialism. Second thing, also important, is that the Polish economy is totally destroyed. We don't have a Polish national economy in Poland. If you came in Warsaw, you will find modern city, because we can say that there are the part of Warsaw which are modern, but it is modern from the Western point of view, that you have a lot of shopping mall, a lot of other things, and all this it is from Western countries. You want to buy something, you can't buy in Polish shop, because in Warsaw there are only the big corporations, the Carrefour, Lidl, I don't know. I can make this all these supermarkets say the name, but you will not find Polish. And also we are dependent from the European Union. So there is the free kind of the example that Poland is not the independent country. The United States and European Union, they make competition who will be more important in Poland, but it is not a competition with Polish people. It is the competition between Europe and America, between Germany and America, better to say. And the Polish in this game, they are only the statists. And also the economic reasons, that because of this, that we are the colony, and the role of the colony is the cheap labor. So the why I emigrate from Poland, why thousands or millions of Poles emigrated from Poland, because in Poland you have very, very bad condition of working. The salaries are very, very little, the time of working is very, very big, the prices are very, very big, there exists not I don't know, the law, the bourgeoisie, the manager can do with you whatever they want, and they will never be punished. And so it's a horror for the workers. And I am not talking only about the money, I am talking about all the infrastructure of Poland, modern Poland. I see the difference, how I have, when I speak about people who have small children in Poland, and how I have small children in France, that I have big chance that my baby was born in France, that the medical care here for my son is totally free, that and a lot of the state invest a lot into the babies in France. In Poland, you have if you don't have money, you are very don't have bad situation. Okay, so it is general situation of the reality. Now I would like to say something about the Polish patriotic movement, because I think that this we have big problem which is similar to the problem which existed in United States. Not similar because there are the difference, but there are some similarities. So I have to say one important thing, that the Polish patriotism today is reactionary. It's reactionary because of the years of the very aggressive propaganda against Russia, and we have some kind of the anti-communist religion where the communism, it is something which came from Russia, and it's very sad that this massive patriotic movement which existed in Poland, this movement is not against things which I am talking about. This movement is not against occupation Poland by the US Army. This movement is not against the totally dependent economy of Poland to the imperialist Western countries. This movement is against migrants, especially migrants from the Muslim countries, and against LGBT, of course, but it is also against communists. We don't have communists in Poland. Communist movement in Poland is very weak. I know this movement. I try to organize this movement, but I can say frankly that this movement is weak. But in this massive demonstration, thousands of Poles, workers, very often this is workers, they shout anti-communist slogans, they want to kill the communists, they want to hang the communists in the trees, and so it is shame, this patriotism. And so I don't know if this propaganda, using this propaganda will work or not. But I think that in Poland we have real base for the progressist patriotism, because the economic reality and the political reality is that the capitalism system, it is mistake from Poland. It is catastrophe. Especially it is humanitarian catastrophe, especially in the 2020 and 21, in the time of the epidemic. But you know, because of the propaganda, it's very complicated to spread our ideas. I don't have problems with these people when I am speaking one-on-one. Sometimes in emigration, when I speak with Poles. Poles in emigration, they are extreme patriotists. If you think that the most patriotic people, this is the people in Poland, in this demonstration, it's not true. The most patriotic people is very often in the emigration, because in emigration every day they have to make competition with the people from other nations. They became this nationalism is making bigger and bigger. So when I am with guy like this in France, with Polish immigrant worker, and I start to use the rational propaganda, who is real enemy of the Polish nation? And I explained that the real enemy of the Polish nation are especially the imperialist troops of the USA and stuff like this. But it's possible when I am 1 against 1 or 1 against 2 or 3 persons. When they are 1,000, before I will open my mouth, they will kill me. So it's a very sad reality. So the Polish patriotism today is reactionary. Especially reactionary is the cult of the cursed soldiers. Cursed soldiers, it is the Nazi collaborators in the time of the Second World War, who in the time of the liberation Poland by the Soviet troops, they organized the terrorist activity against the socialism in Poland. So it's very, how to say, this is a scumbag of the and today these cursed soldiers became the heroes of the Poland. So shame for Poland. Of course, we can find some in some circles there are very strong religious propaganda, Catholic propaganda, and all this stuff against LGBT. It is another question, so I will not speak about this now. But it's very, very difficult to find rational thinking patriot in Poland. What do they propose? Because it is the tragedy of Poland is the people who are the most patriotic. The most patriotic propaganda was produced by the PIS, party of the Kaczynski, Law and Justice. So this party was the most patriotic one, who all the time are waving the Polish flags, all the time they're talking about the Polish dignity, Polish patriotism, Polish independence, and it is this party who decided that in Poland we have occupation of the American troops. So you see that they say about the patriotism, but in reality they are the traitors. When you try to speak with them, but why in Poland we have these occupation troops? What is good for this for Poland? It is obvious for everybody that if they continue to making this aggressive propaganda against Russia. And if there will be war, NATO countries against Russia, this war will be in the Eastern Europe. This war could be in Poland, and the Poland will be totally destroyed. So what is the gain for the Polish nation if our country and a million of Poles will die because of the nuclear war in Poland? Because this is the provocation. It is not only the case that the American troops control Poland. This is the provocation which provoke war. And when we continue the discussion, especially in the time of the epidemic, then when the United States didn't help Poland to fight epidemic, it is China who helped Poland. And some people starting to think a little more in the rational way, that maybe this totally dependence the USA, it's not good, but the rational thinking in the Polish patriotic movement, it is very little minority. Okay, the difference which I had with this communist comrades from USA, the most important difference is that I think that they don't understand the difference between the patriotism or nationalism in the dependent country, colonial country, and the patriotism in the imperialist countries. And this is something which they can't understand. The Jackson Hinkle, he used this American flag. I understand why they use this flag, but for me this flag, it is this flag of the soldiers in Warsaw. I don't want any foreign soldiers in Poland. I don't want it. I don't want the American tanks, German tanks, French tanks, Russian tanks, any foreign tanks in Warsaw. It is the sign of the occupation and big talking in the name of the nation which is occupied by the USA. I have problem with this American flag. And I think that these comrades, of course they know what is imperialism. They know about crimes but I suggest that maybe a little touristic in the world, going to the countries destroyed by the USA or occupied by the USA, to a little understand how that the problem with the American patriotism, it is not the problem of the idiots from Antifa or the liberals in USA. I understand that you hate these people. I also hate these people, but I would like that you will speak with the nations and the people from the Latin America. Why in Latin America they hate USA? Why in the Arab countries they hate USA? Why in the I don't know, other places they hate USA? Ask the question sincerely, and because I understand that it's good to find the solution how to speak with the working class people who vote for Trump. because all this discussion, it is about that the working class voting for Trump or other people like him, and are not interesting about the communism. So this patriotic ideas or a patriotic tool, I can say, it's a bridge how to find a common language with these people. But I think that there are Caleb Maupin, he said a lot of things about the history of the American communist movement, and I think that it is important. Of course, I don't know to give you advice what you have to do. I only wanted to explain that our strategy of the Polish Workers' Party, that we can use patriotism because we are the colony. But you, the communists from USA, you are not in the same position. US citizens are considered in the world like a parasite who are maybe I will not continue this thing. Do not insult the American communists, but the opinion about the American citizens in the world, it's not the better one, and also I have impression that all this discussion which is taking place is discussing about nothing, because it changed nothing. Every new president of USA continue the imperialist politics of the USA, and every president of USA is danger that he's president, because the military budget of the US Army is growing and growing, and the danger of the New World War became bigger and bigger, especially in last weeks, when the United States tried to make the alliance with AUKUS, Quad, all this new aggressive propaganda against China, new Cold War against China. So I don't think that it is the best moment, the moment when the Biden prepared this military stuff to talking about the American patriotism. Okay, comrades, if you have some question, I am ready to answer. Wrote to me in my email or make description and make comment, but the YouTube, they deleted this comment. I don't know why, but many comments in this channel are deleted. It's not me who deleted this comment, so maybe I will, in the description you will find my email. If you have question, wrote to me about this subject, maybe I didn't say something, and I will try to answer from my car.